Hey, it's Marthea, the MSW coach, and I am back again for another episode of my podcast, Macro Social Work Your Way. I am super excited today because I have an alum of my 6-week career coaching program called Micro to Macro. And she is here to give us like all of the give us a bird's eye view of her experience before joining Micro to Macro, her experience inside of the accelerator, and where she is now in her career journey after being in the program. Hey, Krystal, how are you doing? Thank you for
Um,
being here.
oh man, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to speak about my experience, and working with you was just wonderful. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Krystal. If you wouldn't mind, like taking just a few moments to introduce yourself to my listeners, because I know they are going to be over the moon to hear about your experience and what you do now after being in the program. But tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so I am passionate about workforce development and human resources. I have been in the human resources field for about 10 years now. And so having worked at different in the educational sector and in post research universities, working at nonprofits, working in the financial sector, and having just several different roles to build out my managerial experience.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, like, one of the main questions I usually get a lot from people once they are inside of the Career Accelerator is like, I told my friends, I told my family about your program, and they want to know, do you help people who are not social workers? And I usually always say, like, no, I don't. But, like, full transparency, Krystal and I worked together many moons ago, but Krystal's work is very centered around change making work, right? And so she's going to talk more about what that looks like in her career. So, her being inside of the accelerator was very intentional because her work is still mission driven, heavily mission driven, but it centers around her area of expertise. So, this is just like another example of what I always say, like you can blend what you love or your degree with change making work. And so Krystal is a change maker and she is breaking down doors in her industry and setting. And I love it because, again, I am on a mission to help change makers get into every industry and setting because we need people who are dedicated to making macro level change. So I just wanted to say that to give you another perspective, like you can blend your past career life with macro social work roles and jobs, right? Because a large percentage of social workers, based on the research literature that is out there, are considered to be what we call in workforce development career changers, meaning you have a degree in something other than social work, you have a whole other career life before going to get your MSW degree. So I just wanted to say that a little bit up front. So, Krystal, let's talk about what your career life looked like before joining Micro to Macro. Um, help like really paint the picture and tell us like how would you describe your work and the positions that you held before joining the Career Accelerator program?
Yes, I definitely would be happy to. So when I think back, and I'm going to try to condense like my 10-year history just to paint the picture. But I got my degree in human resource and financial management, and I started out being an HR generalist, where doing different work like payroll coordinating, employee relations, building that camaraderie among the team, all of that that goes with it, compliance. all that good stuff. And so I then, after doing that for a few years in the beginning, I wound up in workforce development, still, as a human resources individual. But that's when I got more connected to the community that I wanted to serve, and just saying, oh, okay, helping them develop their own career path, helping connect them to helping all people, regardless of their socioeconomic status, helping them connect to jobs that they're really passionate about and really actually starting a career. And so that's when I was like, oh man, this is kind of, this is what I like. This is where I really felt the passion. And then after that, relocated, and I went back into human resources, which I still enjoyed. But when I think about what was happening, I was getting different work, support roles, administrative roles, bringing in that some of the consulting roles within human resources, but kind of really missing that, like, wow, am I helping the community? Am I helping people align their strengths and their talents with careers that can actually take them to a place where they can be economically prosperous, And so when I realized, like, man, like, I missed that work. And then, I saw that, the advertisement from micro to macro, and I realized, oh, okay, maybe there's something here. And I really want to highlight how not understanding what macro social work, because that was my concern, like, oh my gosh, and like, am I, like, I can't do this, I can't go back and get an MSW, like, I don't have time to do that, but I really want to make change. So that was what led me to the program.
Yeah. So I love that. And I've never heard that term before. And I had to just Google it because, I love a good search. Economic prosperity. I
Mhm.
love that. So let's talk about what, because I'm assuming, so again, just a little context for those who
Mhm.
are listening. Krystal and I used to work on the front lines in the Workforce Development Center, the board that I always refer to in my podcast episodes, where I started out doing career counseling work. But Krystal was on the executive leadership side of the work, where she would go out in the communities. And Krystal, you can correct me where I'm wrong, but she would go out in the communities and engage in relationship building conversations with employers to create an employer pipeline for me to be able to help my career seekers, like, secure job opportunities with whatever openings they had available. And so in that position, I'm sure, like, you saw the need for more opportunities to be made available to really help the people that you serve, again, achieve that economic prosperity that you're talking about. So can you talk about, like, once you transitioned out of that role and you had a desire to, like, continue that change making work that you were doing in the community, um what was challenging for you in order, like, what was some of the challenges you faced in order to find those change making, like, work or job opportunities, um once you
You
were
know,
out there?
I think one of the things doing it, not understanding how I could use my background to find that work, in the sense, not really feeling like you're as qualified to do it, because you do think that you need to have a certain credential within the social work realm to do that. Not understanding, one, not really knowing how to search for that. It's not as it's not as easy as just looking at a job title and saying, hey, this is what I want to do, but really honing it in. And then also kind of being in a comfort zone too. Just, I know that I'm human resources, I have my degree in human resources, not allowing myself to be multifaceted, and understanding that both of them are very helpful. Having the background that I was in, or still am in, serves people. My experiences serve people. Being aware of that. So some of those things were challenges in helping me find and identify what I really wanted to do.
I love that. I loved how you talked about the need of feeling like you initially maybe needed another degree or credential in order to find a career opportunity or a job that blended what you were interested in. And I'm really intrigued by that because I just learned the other week I was doing a site visit for my macro job in St. Paul, and I was talking to a workforce development executive leader, and she was talking about credential inflation. And so I wrote that term down because how she described it was the fact that you will typically find people in positions where they're overqualified. And how I usually describe this before I even was familiar with this term was social workers are typically in entry level case management frontline roles for jobs that are designed for social service like professionals or individuals, meaning you don't necessarily need a degree or any special training to be in these roles, right? But you will find a lot of MSW degree social workers in those positions. So when I heard her last week talking about credential inflation, like that is what social workers experience, right? They have tons of credentials, like certifications. What I always say, social workers love a certification. Like they'll have a ton of them, right? And it's only because there's not enough information out there about what are the career opportunities out there. How can you be, like you said, multifaceted and use the degree that you have to get where you need to be without like taking on the expense of getting another one. So I just wanted to talk about that because you really brought that to light. And so you don't need another degree or a certification to get where you want to be in your career. And that's for the people listening. Krystal, how did you learn about, well, you kind of touched on this, but if you could, like, how did you learn about the career coaching services once I launched the Accelerator? What were your thoughts or around the program? Like, did you have any questions initially? What information basically helped you decide to, I'm going to sign up for MicrotoMacro, and this is what I need to do?
So what I initially thought when I saw the program, so I found you, I think you were advertising on LinkedIn. And so when I saw that, I reached out and to get more information and just to reach out to you because it was something that I was really interested in. One, I think it was really being curious because you advertise that change maker, and that makes sense. Like, how do you move and address systemic issues in a community on a large scale? And that made more sense. I mean, understanding that is, a part of what macro social work is, but not really making that, when we hear the term social work, we automatically have this certain image in our mind of what that means. And so being able to say, oh, well, I'm a change maker. Like I want to really help and transform communities. So how do I do this with what I have? And so that part, and like, what are the steps to take? And then knowing you and your work ethic and your background and how researched you are, it was just like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity because you are also just a wealth of knowledge and helping me see things from a different perspective.
Oh, thank you, Krystal. Fun fact, and I just thought about it when you said that. Some of the pictures that I use on my social media to like give people a view of like, I didn't just start this work, I've been doing it for the last 10 years.
Yes.
Are pictures from when we went to the Workforce Development Conference and
Oh, yeah.
received those awards. And I always say, like, in my personal life, I'm a huge introvert, but when it comes to my professional life, I'm an extrovert because I'm so passionate about the work. But I remember Krystal saying, Marthea, I want to take a picture of you with your awards. Come meet me out here. And I was like, I don't want to take a picture. I just want to go back to my room. Like, I have been on stage and I'm done. And she was like, Marthea, I need the picture. And so I'm so glad that you
That's,
pulled me out of my comfort zone
oh,
and like
wow.
put those pictures of me because I use them to this day. And so
Oh, wow.
that just lends to that lends to another podcast episode that I released
Yes.
a few weeks ago about champions in your career
Yeah.
and how a lot of the people that I work with on the front lines in my career counseling days really helped me shape into the professional that I
Yeah.
am today. So thank you, Krystal.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I love hearing that. And it's so funny. It's like how things, I love when things work out and they come back around because, coming from, okay, being in human resources, having a career, doing other people's resume, it takes like, no, you need help. You need that same career coach, that you feel like it's easier to be for other people. And so you're just like, just such a great fit for that. And where I was. So thank you so much for letting me know that.
Yes, every time I look at that picture, I think about that day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's talk about, okay, you signed up, you
Mm-hmm.
paid your money
Mm-hmm.
to join the accelerator. What was your journey once the live career coaching call started? What was your journey inside of Micro to Macro? What did that look like?
If I had to simplify the experience to one word, it was really about like being really introspective, self-aware, and um, I don't, until you take the course, you think you know how to research. Wait till Marthea shows you how to do research of a job. But I think that I would definitely say that was my overall experience of just saying like, oh, kind of coming into that awareness, oh, I can transition, I can do it. Let me take myself out of the box of what I can do, the encouragement, going through the resume work through, and really thinking about all these other things that aren't on the job description that you don't put on your resume. I don't want to give too much out, but you realize like, oh wow, there's so much that I need to learn. To put out and to advertise about my skills. So that's what I would say. Like my emotions was just the self-awareness, having to do it with intention. Like that, if that's a key word too, is just the big difference that I noticed before and after the program. Like I was intentional. I was no longer just, okay, you're not gonna get just another HR role. No, 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 no. Like even if you land up in human resources or something else, it's gonna be tied to the mission that I created while I was in that program.
I love it. I love it. Because that is like a running theme and what I hear
Mhm.
alums say is like, I'm going to be very intentional, right? And
Mhm.
so for me, that's confirmation that my messaging and the curriculum design is really stressing the importance of strategic career planning and making certain that we are applying for jobs and getting jobs that really align with our mission and our values and what our long-term career goals are. And I always want to jump on the soapbox about like we're not applying just for any job that floats by on the screen. And Krystal has sat through many of those
Yes,
conversations.
because it's tempting to go back when you're in the program and you may want a job. I was in between one contract and transitioning to another at the time when I had joined your program. So my other contract had just ended. So it was tempting. I think I was so grateful to have access because that was a messaging like you're not just gonna take it because you know you can do it. You've done it before, and it's like no, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
What you're going to be on this trajectory, whether you get your dream job or the job that is leading you to that next step, it's going to still be intentional.
Yes, because it is so easy, right? To like
Mm-hmm.
go back into what is familiar and comfortable. It's not that your current job was easy or the roles that you had in the past, but it was just what it was the norm, it was what you were used to. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so hard at times in many areas of our life, especially your career, to unlearn what has always been the way. And so I always talk about that with people who are thinking about coming into the program. Like, you have to be ready to unlearn a lot of what you've learned about job searching, career planning, all of the things, career design. And it's really shifting your lens to a more macro, a really macro focus in your career and in your work, right? What is the larger goal? And let's stay focused on that. So thank you for sharing that about being intentional. That is a key word that we need to take away. What were your challenges inside of micro to macro? Once you were in the program, we started the coaching sessions. Were there any places where you got stuck?
I would say, there's a part in the program where we talk about who do you want to serve? And, kind of like that people group you're called to, and realizing that, I really hadn't focused on that, kind of sitting with it and simmering on it and seeing like who's actually, like, I say that I care about this, but I haven't really been focused on how do I serve this population? How do I get connected? And so I kind of sat with that. I don't know if it would be a challenge or something that I had to sit with. I would say another thing that challenges to really that I had to overcome was really just looking for jobs in the standard way. Because you kind of because you're in the thick of it, and you kind of used to doing it like, oh, I've been in human resources, look at no, and it's like you wanted, but it's like, no, how do we actually scour for it? How do we look through who's being awarded certain things? Like, how are you identifying who's serving your population? And I think just kind of coming out of that took a little time.
Yeah, so that's a great point that you just brought up, because many social workers, people that I work with, struggle with identifying their populations and issues, which is for those who listening, that's one part of the framework that I teach inside of the accelerator about how to design your career. Is you need to identify, or you should identify, your population and issue that you want to focus on, because it really fuels your work when you're out there doing large scale change making work where you're challenging the status quo, and you're not always in a room, you're not really ever in a room with other people who are on the same who have the same perspective of, we can really change the system. And so many social workers struggle with identifying their populations and issues. And I always like to give an example of how important it is to know what it is, what group you want to work for. Because, for example, I was in my MSW degree program and I heard someone say, like, a social worker should never say who they wouldn't work with. And I didn't agree with it then, and I don't agree with it now. And I really didn't agree with it back then, because that was in my workforce development career counseling days. And that's the same like approach where you say, I'll work any job. And then I said, give you a job title. It's like, would you work as a person that goes out and cleans the parks? And then the people are like, no, I don't want to do that. Well, you just said you will work any job,
Right.
right?
Right.
Or another example is in your frontline work. Have you ever worked with a case manager who, or social worker who is really mean to the clients or the participants? And it's like, okay, clearly you hate your job. Why are you even here? So it's very important to know about what population or issue you want to focus on, because it creates more opportunities for you to be satisfied in your job. And so that's important, because almost 50% of social workers, and this is a fact for those listening, almost 50% of social workers struggle with finding a satisfactory position. And that's MSW degree social workers, according to research that was done by the CSWE in 2018. So inside of the accelerator, do help you get clear on that. And so, and what that looks like is not a one-time conversation. Like Krystal said, it may be a series of multiple conversations. It also it requires you to really sit down and deep thought about who do you really want to serve and why? And so, Krystal, do you mind talking about like any breakthroughs that you had inside of the accelerator, or the moments things like turned around for you around like the intentionality you can take in designing your career?
Mhm. I would definitely say one of my breakthroughs is when I really got clear about, my personal mission, and what I want to do in the macro space, which is, I really want to help marginalized communities, people that have been historically underserved. I want to make sure that they get into STEM careers, STEM or STEAM. I really want to see them thrive because it's huge. It's so robust. There are continual opportunities. And one of the things that really helped me that breakthrough was when I defined the mission, then it became, you can serve this mission any which way with the skills and talents that you have. And it opened me up because now I don't have to do it through human resources. Could I do it depending on the organization? Yes. But it was like, oh, wow, I could be in corporate and social responsibility. I could do it through DEI work. I could be community and event planning and working with, being a consultant for organizations that do career development. And so it was like, oh, wow. Now I can see the opportunity. Now it became clear. It didn't feel like it went from like, oh my gosh, where am I gonna find it, to like, oh wow, there's a lot of opportunity. And that was a breakthrough for me.
I love it. I'm trying to contain myself over here. I want to give the Zoom emoji, but oh well, let me see. I love a good Zoom emoji for those
Yes,
watching the replay.
yes.
Look at it. Look at Krystal illustrating the career exploration that she did inside of the program, where she can name
Mhm.
areas that she can do work that supports her mission. I love it. I love
Mhm.
it. Um, I'm my heart is smiling. So, can you share like, so what were the final results? So clearly you got clear about what
Mhm.
opportunities existed out there for you to further your mission of getting
Mhm.
more marginalized populations into STEAM careers. What did your final results look like? Did you land a job? What does your work look
Yes.
like now after the program?
Yes. So I did. I got a role within, it's still within human resources and talent and culture development, but I'm working for an organization that receives grants to, guess what? Help promote career development, workforce development in the life science industry. So that has really been amazing. The opportunities I've been able to sit on career committees and speak towards that, and just meet a variety of people who want to do that are working towards that mission.
Love it. I love it. So when Krystal landed her job, I was like, this is huge. Like, I think I can say the industry is
Yeah.
like under biotech.
Yes. Hmm.
I was like, this is huge. I'm out this for the like. So I think I get more excited than my coaching clients when they leave. I know I do. It's almost like being
Mhm.
it's I can't explain it, but your win is my win, because
Yes.
now there is another person who is mission driven in a space where they can really lead change and be the voice that needs to be in those rooms to shed light on the importance of creating more opportunities for the population and the issues that they're really passionate about. So I'm so excited about that. Um, Krystal, are there any tips or final thoughts that you want to share with
Mhm.
those listening, and just like a little context? Many of the social workers that are listening, like, and I'm just gonna rattle off some of the things I've heard lately. One person I met with, and she was like, I don't understand why I should invest in like a career coach. And she was really seeing that more from the standpoint of never ever knowing anyone who has done that. Another thing that I've heard from social workers on the fence about joining the accelerator is around like their belief in their ability to engage in large scale work. So
Mhm.
confidence is a big issue for many social workers.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if you have like any final thoughts around that to help them, maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, shift their thinking around that.
Yeah. So, if one, you can't always calculate the return on investment for the emotional and the spiritual aspects of doing what you love doing. That is a big shift. It's just like, wow, like being in a field where, wow, I love helping towards this and working towards this mission. That was a big shift. So it's worth the investment just on that alone. But if I wanted to do the ROI, which I should have calculated it before I got here, but from what I was making prior to what I'm making now, I mean the course paid for itself in that way. Um, Moreover, so that would be a shift. I would say that opening, you are going to get the encouragement that you need. What happens through the process is that you're going to become more aware when she walks you through your resume. When you get to that part where you're going through your skills, your past history, all those things, you're going to see, oh wow, that was really encouraging. That digging, kind of that deep dive, and seeing all your experiences, you're going to gain that confidence in order to do it. I also say be open to kind of take yourself out of that box and thinking that this is how you do it or this is how it's been done. That unlearning portion is really going to be helpful so that you can really embrace the teaching that's provided, the coaching that's provided, so that you can look and find, and then also to the level of clarity that you can get from this program has just really been amazing.
I love it. Thank you for that. I know that helped at least one person, if not more, because they love when I bring on people who are doing the work
Mhm.
too, because it helps them see, it serves as a point of reference, like it can be done, right? This is
Mhm.
not an elusive area of work
Mhm.
that you never see a person. So thank you for volunteering to join me on the podcast episode. I know I'm going to get good feedback on this one because
Mhm.
there are many people who are interested in blending, more of what they love with their current degrees and not going back to school and have to get another certification or do another training. So tell them where to follow you, because I know they will contact you.
Oh, awesome. I definitely will. Oh, one last tip when I'm thinking about it. If you're on the fence or just thinking about it, if you want to transform communities or you want to transform systematic issues on a larger level, regardless of your background, go ahead and make the investment. It doesn't matter what your background is. If you truly want to be that change maker, this is worth the investment.
Thank
All
you.
right. And you can find me, I'm Krystal Alexander, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a direct message. I'd love to connect with you and get to know more or even answer any questions that you have about the program.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So Crystal said it beautifully. If you are interested in transforming communities and doing change making work, Micro to Macro is for you. Click the link in my show notes below this episode to join my next live workshop, How to Land a Macro Social Work Job. It's an opportunity for you to come and experience what a career coaching session is like with me. I teach you the basics about what macro work is. I share with you other success stories of people who have come through the program and transformed their careers. I also even take you through the framework of micro to macro. It's the same framework that Krystal has been referring to throughout this episode. And then I give you a personal opportunity to join me inside of the Accelerator for that more intensive career coaching support. So if that sounds interesting to you, click the link, purchase a ticket to attend my next live workshop. And thank you again, Krystal. I know you are a very busy human being. And you just multi-talented. So thank you again for taking out time in your day to join me on this episode. This is Marthea of Hits. Have a wonderful day and happy macro career planning. Bye.